thank everybody for being here this morning. I know there was a wreck on I-64 coming in, so we may have a few more members coming in a little late. At this point, we'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Senator Chambers Armstrong.
Here.
Senator Elkins.
Present.
Senator Harper Angel. Senator Bledsoe. Senator McDaniel. Senator Nemus.
Present.
Senator Storm. Senator Thayer.
Here.
Senator Wheeler. Senator Williams. Representative Bentley. Representative Bowling. Representative Bray. Representative Brown. Representative Chester Burton. Representative Dixon. Representative Doan. Representative Frazier Gordon. Representative Freeland. Representative Imes. Representative Justice. Representative Lockett.
Here.
Representative Meredith. Representative Proctor. Representative Raymer.
Here.
Representative Reed.
Here.
Representative Stalker.
Present.
Representative Stevenson. Representative Thomas.
Present.
Representative Bridges. Senator Mills.
I'm here. All right, we have a quorum. We have the approval of our minutes from September 26th. I'm sure everybody's read those. Motion to approve. Is there a second? Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. All right. Well, this morning we're here to talk about special purpose government entities. And we always get reports from these folks every year to see what's going on in our local governments here. And the first item on the first person on the agenda is Tammy Vernon. And is that David? David Gibson. Okay, very good. If y'all can introduce yourselves and tell us who you represent, and the floor is yours.
Okay. My name is Tammy Vernon. I'm with the Department for Local Government. I am the branch manager over cities and special districts. And
my name is David Brandon Gibson. I'm a staff attorney for DLG.
Very good. Thank you, folks, for being here. The floor is yours.
okay, just give me a second. Guess I'm gonna have to use them out. Oh. All right, what is special purpose government entity? SPGs are independent subdivisions of the state government entities that exercise less than statewide jurisdiction and are organized for the purpose of performing specific services within limited boundaries. Examples would be libraries, tourisms, and extensions. The topics that we're going to discuss today are DLG compliance, new SPGE system update, and of course the LRC annual report. DLG's responsibility per KRS 65A is to create and maintain an online central registry, an online reporting portal, and an online public access portal. In addition, we are to monitor, track status changes when notified, newfound dissolutions, and merged SPGEs, prepare statutory required reports, and activate non-compliance procedures. As many of you are aware, we have been working with COT since January 1 of 2021 to build a new SPGE program. The estimated project end date is 12/31 of 2024, which is right around the corner. I am pleased to announce that we are running on schedule, if not a little bit ahead of schedule for this program. So in the reports that we're about ready to show, you're going to see two versions. You're going to see the task compliance, which is the registration and budget submissions, and you're going to see the audit compliance, which is the requirement and submissions. And these are summaries. These next 4 slides or 3 slides are previously submitted. Hang on just a second. Previous presentations that we had gone through at other meetings in the previous years. If you look at the bottom, you'll see a key. You'll see the blue is in production. You'll see a pattern fill with maybe a color over top, which will be on some of the other slides, which means it's a multi-release. The gold is in testing, the green is in development, the lighter green is stories completed, which is where you work with the business analyst to be able to build the stories for the features that are a part of the program. And if they don't have a color around them, those are in planning. This section runs from November the 19th, 2021 to January 31st of 2022. And these are what we have currently in production. And this is slide 2 of what we have in production. And as I said, we've been previously through these before. Slide 3, which is also in production. And I'll summarize this in just a second. What this means that anything that was in the old system has now been live in the new system. SPGEs can get on and register. They can make their payments. They can fill out their budget, and they can upload their audits. And also we have the audit requirements available for them. In 2023, we had our first release in Release 5 in March. This has also added a new feature that was not part of the original plan. As you're aware, we get a lot of phone calls into the DLG branch CSD department, and we have to track and do follow-ups with the SPGE. What we have is a notes section and a follow-up. So if SPGE contacts us, we're able to make a note in the file and follow up with them at some other time. Also, it comes in very handy if there's an open records request and they want to know all communications to that SPGE, we can pull that information. And again, those are active in our system now. Let's see if there's anything. We also have the grant exemption. That's where if there's a grant that has been received, if it's a non-recurring grant, we can reduce the registration fee or their audit requirement. Release 7, we had COT worked with the proof of concept, which is the basic audit process, and they put that in production, and we got through that. So currently, as of today, everything on the audit process is complete except for the municipal utilities. There's a total of maybe 20 municipal utilities that we have to still program because of the coding's different with their TVA form that they have to submit. We're hoping to have that complete. I think it's in November, which you will see on the timeline here. Where we are today, if you look at the Release 10, we, of course, the LRC report in the presentation. We have the hold process. As you're aware, a few years ago, or there was the affidavit process, where in case of lost, destroyed documents were in place or was lost, what we have now in place, if something like that happens and they complete an affidavit, we're able to waive those requirements in our system, where they will not run through compliance. Coming up is the dissolution process. In the past, that was all administered manually. That is going to be automated. Also, COT is refactoring the dates and doing some database changes. Let's see, what else? We're also doing some quality of life enhancement, like setting up some additional filters. And then, of course, the municipal utilities is coming in towards the end of November. Also, the fire departments. This is the historical data is current in our system, and it's working. The fire department, this is exiting and re-entering into our system automatically. That's what this piece is. The dissolution feature will be complete in December. Also, we're planning on adding the audit and the registration fee calculation on the dashboard for the SPGE to see exactly how those figures are determined. January of 2024, we have the alternative review process. The merge feature declassify feature, newspaper feature, the newly created feature, ethics ordinance. February, we have notes templates. Remember I mentioned notes is come up with a standard way on where we could select the particular note to add to the system versus typing it up and getting differences, and also allowing us to upload information to that note. Reporting, so if there's an open records request, we can pull that information. And then in March, we're working on creating a new feature called the tax rate calculation. As you're aware, under 65A.110, DLG shall, upon request, calculate tax rates for SPGEs. We're planning on building that a part of the SPGE system where we will get the assessments from DOR. We'll have 2 people entering that information in to verify the data is correct, and the system will automatically calculate that upon request. The next piece is usually in April, we're hoping in April and May, the transition time, that's where we're building the message center. That's where we have the two-way communications back and forth with the SPGE, and it will also automate the non-compliance letters that we're currently doing manually. So 30 days after the due date, they will automatically be generated. Also, the fire approval and denials. So if that's another feature that we're going to have, the grant approval and denial letters, dissolution approval and denial letters. And then, of course, the oversight agencies will have access to the tax rate calculations. So that way, if they're the ones that's administering for the SPGE, they can pull that information themselves. And then I'm sure there's going to be other communications going to get added to that. In June is the training module, which includes a newsletter that will be going out to the SPGEs. Also, additional ad hoc reporting and alert filters. That's where if we need to notify just one specific district type, we can. So, for example, if we want to send something to all the extensions, we can do that. And then the last piece here is in July, and this is more having to do with special requests to COT to build secondary accounts and also clone accounts. So when we get a new person that's an oversight agency, we can clone someone else's account without having to go through and assign all those districts to that particular person. Release 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, which takes us through December. We don't have anything scheduled because this would be the end of the project, but if something comes up, we do still have the statement of work where we can fill that, use that. All right, the LRC compliance report. The data that you're seeing on the screen here is data as of October the 18th. The audit feature is complete except, as I said earlier, the district type municipal utilities. The great news is in April of 2023, the first phase of the public portal went live. So if you guys haven't had a chance to go out there and visit, go to DLG's website and you'll see a button down there at the bottom for the public portal. You can click that and you can click the guest portal and then you can go in and you can view the SPGEs. To the right-hand side, you will see all the different statuses. These are statuses within our system. When we run compliance, we're only looking at the active status, which is 1,409, which is 71.72% of the records that we have, or the SPGEs we have in our system. We have the 273, of course, which is the volunteer fire departments, which exited our system in last fiscal year was that they reported to us was in 2018. Then, of course, we have the 75 exempts. That's where they're less than 100,000, and they report to the Fire Commission. If they report to the Fire Commission 2 or more consecutive years, they come back to DLG. So that's what that code is, and that's what the program we're getting ready to finish up. The whole process is mostly has to do with the the oh shoot, affidavits. There we go. The affidavits. And we have 23. Some of these are the flood counties that got hit in eastern Kentucky that we've been working with. And some of the others, I think we had some that was in western Kentucky that was the tornado and some things like that. And plus, we've had a few fires and things like that that come through. We have processed merge. Currently, the only entities that we have in process merged, I believe, are water districts and possibly are fire districts. I think in their statute allows them to merge, whereas KRS 65A does not. But I think there's some other statutes out there that do. So that's the reason why the process is here. So the process means that we are in the process, mean that we've received initiation of that, and we're going through the work for that. The results means that it's actually happened. So on the website, you will see the date that they were dissolved, and you will see the files that they have provided us to upload. Also, the merge is basically set up the same way. All right. Earlier, we had talked about the task compliance, which was registration and budget submissions. This is what we always reported to you guys in previous years. We did not have the audits available. We kept the audits out of this just for this year, but next year we should be able to roll it all together because this here is the overall compliance, and what we're showing is 90.7 for compliance. We have 1,278 compliant and 131 non-compliant. As you can look down, you can see the fiscal years all the way from 15 to 2024. And I know in previous years that we had said that we were 100% compliant on a few of these years, but when we started auditing the data, we either had missing information and we had to open those back up. So when we opened those back up, if they had completed that information on a timely fashion, then they would become compliant again. If they have not, that's the reason why you're seeing these few that's coming through, like 533 and so forth. The next section on the right-hand side is the compliance based off of the cycle. We have 4 cycles. We have January through December, which is mostly your water district. We do have a few housing authorities in there, and I believe Northern Kentucky Air Board's in there, and there's a hospital in there that is on a cycle or on a calendar year. April through March is housing authorities. July through June. That basically is the majority of the population. And then we have the October through September, which are housing authorities as well. This next group is basically by district type. And in our statute, it requires DLG to actually provide training to the SPGEs. This is an excellent tool for us to be able to determine what district types needs more assistance on getting their paperwork filled out. We can look at this chart. We can determine if there's anything that we need to do to go out and visit these areas to try to help them get compliant. And there's actually 2 pages of this. And that's the second part of it. And now we're going into the audits. The audit compliance, as I said, this is something we've never been able to report on. We had difficulties determining what their audit requirements were. The overall compliance right now is 71.89%. The compliant are 1,013. Non-compliant is 396. And that expands over from fiscal year 2015 through 2024. And then we have the audit compliance by cycle that you can see where the most audits are past due on. And it looks like through June or July through June. And we're at 64.44%. Then, of course, here is the same type of district type report that we would use basically for training and also for communication purposes. And that's the second part. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions for the pair? Okay. Senator Thayer has a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For some of our newer members, little history lesson here. This level of transparency and reporting was not always required. And there were several of us on this committee who have led the charge going back probably 15 years to get more transparency, disclosure from these SPGEs. I remember when I first filed the bill, I was laughed at and said, we can't make these boards do that. What? We can't make these libraries tell us how much money they're raising, even though their tax rate is as high as the fiscal courts. Pardon my editorial comment, but when I turn on the microphone, you know that's what's going to come. So actually, it was Senator Elkin's predecessor, Senator Alvarado, who was able to push this across the finish line after several close attempts by yours truly. And then Senator Philip Wheeler, just a couple years ago, brought even more transparency to the process. So don't take this reporting for granted, because when I first got elected here almost 21 years ago, we didn't have this. Frankly, I think we should go further. I think anybody who spends public money ought to be elected. So that's the next bill I'm going to sponsor. So or I'll find someone else to sponsor it, because I'm sort of out of the business of sponsoring bills unless I'm trying to make a point, Representative Bray. And so maybe I'll do that just to make a point, because when I first sponsored these kinds of bills, it was anathema to even consider it, and now we're getting these kinds of reports. But I think any board or commission that has taxing authority or spending authority needs to have more accountability to the voters. That's where the money comes from. Let's not forget that. Thank you for your report today.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? All righty. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Roberts, come on up. And Chuck Bonta. How are y'all doing today? Great. Thank y'all for being here. We'll let Chris get you set up here.
So I think these are your two documents. You can just open those. Okay. Fire commission. Yeah.
All right, if y'all can introduce yourselves, and the floor will be yours.
I'm Bruce Roberts, Deputy Director of the Kentucky Fire Commission.
I'm Chuck Bonta, Training Records and Compliance Specialist with the Kentucky Fire Commission. I'm one of the field people that go out and check the fire departments, but I also collect the data for this.
Very good. You guys take off. Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry. Maybe a second. Get just a display.
This is presentation.
There. Thank you. Just to expand on what Senator Thayer said there, the Fire Commission took on this when they did that, made those changes to the SPGEs. Since then, it has evolved some. With our reporting, we found that there was some, with a lot of the Chapter 273s, the nonprofit fire departments, there's frequent turnover with volunteers and leadership. So some of the reports we would get back would not always be accurate. So we found it more feasible actually going out to the fire departments, as we would do when we'd check their training records. So with the change of the law last year, it took those that actually physically send reports into us down to 35 tax districts that are below 100,000. As of the time I submitted this report to you all, we had 31 that had turned in reporting, 4 non-compliant since. We've had 1 additional submit. 1 is supposed to submit today, so that leaves us 2 that have not submitted. One of those being a fire department in Lewis County that is in the process of merging with Lewis County Fire Department. They're just having trouble with volunteers and not functioning. And the other is out in Hickman County, and one of my coworkers is actually scheduled to go out and meet with them to help them complete paperwork. They've just had some changeover, and leadership's confused about the paperwork. So that's where we stand with that. Of those that report to us, I did make an error on this page, but of the 35 tax districts that report to us, they reported 1.9 million in total revenues. Of those, the high was 118,000, low was 16,340, and that took the actual average. I've miscalculated that to 54,286 is the average revenues for those 35 tax district fire departments. Again, with the change in law last year, it requires the fire commission and myself and my 3 coworkers that do this to go out and visit the Chapter 273 nonprofit fire departments and the Chapter 75 fire departments once a year. That was part of our normal process with checking training records. It's just we added the financial component to it. So for the last fiscal year, we were in 647 fire departments. I'll show you here. So there's 766 in the state. So the offset there is we had been doing ours on a calendar year. With the change of the law last July of 22. It changed it to fiscal year, so that threw the numbers off. But we were in 99% physically in 99% of the fire departments last year. Out of that, we had what we consider 11 in-house investigations. That could be training records, issues as far as fire commission KRs that weren't being followed. Just people need administrative guidance, nothing serious. We had 2 cases that were referred to the Kentucky State Police under the guidance of 95A 055. One led to a grand jury indictment. One is still under investigation. And then we have 3 that we have presented to the auditor's office and the attorney general's office. One is awaiting a grand jury, and the other 2 are still pending investigation. So we are able, by going out physically visiting these departments and tax districts, we are finding things and holding people accountable, and so I think it's being successful. And I guess that's all I have for that presentation. With the materials handed out to you, or hopefully y'all got, did y'all get another attachment as well? It should list the fire departments on there. Of course, we have 20 Chapter 67 fire departments, which are county government, 195 under city government, 437 that are nonprofit 501c3 entities, and 110 Chapter 75 taxing district fire departments, of which 35 of those report to the fire commission, and a couple of those are standalone tax districts that contract with the nonprofit entities. And that's all I really have. Unless y'all have any questions, there's a spreadsheet should be attached also that is posted on the Fire Commission website that shows each individual's fire department's reportings.
Any questions for the gentleman before us today? What's encouraging to know that you've been to all the, almost all the stations and making visits, and I think that encourages better record keeping and financial record keeping. I think it raises the bar. Anybody else have anything else to add? All righty. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, the only other item on our agenda is there is an administrative reg that is before us related to Rural Housing Trust Fund. If anybody has any input on that. If not, our next meeting, our last meeting of the interim, is going to be November 6th. And if there isn't anything else, we stand adjourned.